now. Hi everybody, and welcome to the September Nature Diary. We're going to be painting the greater flamingo, which I thought would be fun for this month and appropriate because we have the bird migration starting in Malta this month, which is very exciting. And there was actually a flamingo at Golden Bay, which is really exciting. So let me just share some information with you. And what I'm going to do today is a little bit different. I want to show you how to look things up a little bit on the internet, just in case you use it for a project that you want to do, if you want to look up any information about nature or animals. If you type IUCN Red List into Google, this is the website that comes up. So there's all sorts of different animals on here. And when you type into the search box at the top, so we're going to look for the greater flamingo. There's, maybe I should have showed you. Let's search for a flamingo because there's different kinds of flamingos all over the world, like the American flamingo, the lesser flamingo. And it shows you here how the population is doing across the world. So you can see this one's increasing, which is really good news. We have others that are decreasing, which is bad news, but it's kind of a mixture. Welcome to everybody who's just joined. So we want to look at the greater flamingo today. This is for those who've just joined. I'm just showing everybody the IUCN Red List, which is just really useful to look up a bit of information about certain species. So yeah, that's just to show you a tool. And I'm going to talk a bit more about it. This is another good website called National Geographic Kids. And I use it a lot. So we'll just, if you click on the search at the top and you search for greater flamingo, which is the name of the species we're painting. And then you get some photos, you get various information down here. It's just really good to see. So some of these photos are great. This is a flock of flamingos. This is a juvenile flamingo, so they don't go completely pink straight away. This is a baby flamingo. Isn't it sweet? And this is a fully grown adult flamingo, somewhat exotic and lovely looking. So I just wanted to let you know that there are 6 species of flamingo in the world in total. And like I said, some are decreasing, some are increasing, and some have stable populations. The young flamingos are born white with these soft, downy or fluffy feathers, and they have a straight bill or beak. And the parents take care of their newborns for a while, after up to 5 days, but then they return to their parents for food. And the parents identify the chick by its voice. So every chick has its own kind of voice, and they can find in those big flocks, like you saw in the first photo. Imagine trying to find your child in amongst all of those, but they recognize them by their voice. So, and then after 3 weeks of the chick being born, they herd the younger flamingos into groups, which they call creches, which is a word that they use for kindergarten, basically. So then they start to look for food on their own when they're in those groups. So what the photo we're going to be using, should have searched for this earlier, of course. Sorry about that. But it's good to show you, I guess. It was taken by a friend of mine called Clive Muscat. He's a very good photographer. And he spotted it's there. No, it's a different one. he spotted this flamingo and quickly took some pictures. Is this the one? Ah, this is the one. So like I said earlier, it's migration time now. And there's lots of birds migrating from the northern countries to fly, and they're flying south for warmer weather because the weather, believe it or not, is going to start becoming colder. Flamingos sometimes stay, or usually stay, in the same place, and are considered non-migratory birds, but they do move if there's a change in habitat or they can't find any food. And some juveniles can get, so some young ones can get separated from the flock, which is what must have happened to the one that was found at Golden Bay recently. So the thing to do if you spot a baby flamingo that's on its own is to call BirdLife Malta, and they have a phone number which you can find on their website or on the Facebook page. I can give it to you if you want, or you can call the Environmental Protection Unit on 119, because that's quite easy to remember. So these are some of Clive's photos. So as you can see, it's not fully pink, but still really stunning and great colours. And Clive he provided the photos to me, he said it's fine to paint from them. So what I'm going to do is send you, I didn't think of this because sometimes you can't send the link. I'll send you the link to the page.
I think if you open the photo and copy the link directly from the search bar, it should work, perhaps. Yes.
Up here, you mean? Yeah, that's true. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I always get confused about how to do that. So let me stop sharing and then find the chat. So that should be the photo we're using. But I also wanted to send you, just in case you want to use it, the IUCN Red List and the link to the National Geographic page. Okay, so let's get started with drawing and painting. I'll spotlight my drawing video there, and I can put this one somewhere else. So all we need at first is a pencil and a rubber. And I'm just going to get the photo up for reference in front of me. So as usual, what I say to people is we're just going to do a very rough sketch. I'll keep everything as it is, because we want to make sure that we can fit everything, almost the whole animal on the page. So if you just mark where the top of the head you think should be, so the head's going to be somewhere over there. It's not coming out very. Maybe I'll press a bit more so you can see. I'm not, it's very sketchy at first. So then the neck should come down like that. The body, the middle of the body should be around here. And then the leg around there. So if we draw the top of the body first, so the shape because at first, when you first draw something, it's almost like drawing a balloon, like something that you squashed into shape. So it's really not getting that complicated about it. And really what you should do most of the time is, if you want to make sure everything's in proportion, is use your pencil to measure. So if you have the photo, which I have in front of me here, so you use the pencil like this and you measure the top to the bottom, and then you look at the neck and see how many times the head fits into that same size. There's one, roughly around 2. So then you do the same thing on your drawing. So that's 1. So you see where I'm holding the top of my pencil with my fingers. That's 1, 1, 2. So that's about right. I mean, I'm cheating a little bit because I did draw it before doing this session, so I kind of know where everything fits, but it's just a good tip to know for when you're drawing things in future. And you can also check the legs. So the legs should be a bit longer than the neck. So the neck is that long, and yeah, so they're just a tiny bit longer. So here they're that long. So now I can see that the legs need to be a bit longer. So I think what I'll do is I'll shift the belly up a little bit and the body. It also doesn't need to be perfect either. And it's meant to be fun. So, okay, I think we've got the rough shape here. They are such graceful creatures and quite fun to draw and to paint. So I'm going to start drawing the beak, which is quite long and large, and it kind of has a triangular shape at the top, or it finishes in a triangle. And sometimes you might want to, the eye isn't incredibly clear on the photo when you zoom in, but if you just get an idea of it, that's fine. I think I'm going to make it the beak a little bit narrower at the top. Narrower and then coming down to thicker. So we have some newcomers today, which is exciting. Welcome, everybody. Hope everybody's enjoying it so far. And we've been doing these sessions once every month on the first Saturday of every month. And the idea is at the end to have a whole collection of drawings and paintings inspired by species of animals that live on or visit the Maltese Islands. So you can kind of use it as a, I don't know, either as a reference to, so that you know your wildlife in Malta, or just because you simply want to draw them. And it's been something I've been wanting to do. And I thought, well, why not do it with a few other people? And of course, it's all done with the help of Mistral Park as well, which is a great protected area or nature park in the north of Malta, where you can see some of the species that we draw sometimes. So very worth visiting. If you haven't already, I'm sure most of you have. Okay, so I'm just drawing the neck. Kind of went a bit too narrow there. It is a very skinny neck though. It's amazing that they can fly. Yeah, don't be worried about using rubber if you need to. I mean, we all make mistakes. Okay, I'm quite happy with the head. To be fair, it's quite simple shape to, well, simple-ish shape to draw. And so here we've got a few feathers sticking out. Which doesn't need to be exactly like the photo. Really, we should credit the artist in our photos, or not the artist, the photographer, sorry. But it depends on how similar your painting looks. I mean, mine didn't come out looking that similar from my previous one. And Clive is completely won't mind. So this feather kind of comes down like this. You don't have to draw these feathers. In fact, I might. Yeah, it's up to you whether you want to draw those feathers or not. But the last one I completely experimented and it was quite fun actually. So I think that looks about right. I think this leg, I think it's fine actually. So if you just need to draw another line for the leg, I'm just going to draw it in a line for now and then put the, really I should be measuring these as well. So if you measure the body on the photo, it's about the same. So round about here is where it has a joint in its leg. Because they just fold everything up when they fly. It's amazing how different all animals are. Okay, so then you can just rub out these lines, and we need to draw such a typical flamingo pose, isn't it? This, for the leg that's being held, although I think they do this a lot. They sleep like this, don't they? I'm pretty sure there's flamingos at one of the bird life reserves at the moment. I saw them at Adira Nature Reserve one time. So another tip when you're drawing is when you're not sure about where something is, you look at the spaces in between. So with drawing this leg, if you look at the photo and you look at that space there, you just draw that shape. It's kind of like negative drawing. It's just hopefully a helpful tip. All of which I learned from my mum, who's a professional artist, but yeah, I'm not a professional. But I just like drawing and painting. In my spare time. Okay, then if you do feel like you need to modify some parts, that's fine. And we're going to start painting soon. I bet some of you have already started. It's me fiddling around a bit. I'm just going to put some lines in for where the, maybe not called toes, but claws, I guess. So I think that's fine. I'm gonna make these a bit lighter to take the paint. So I'm going to start with the body, with the head, I mean, sorry. So to try and not smudge everything else as much as possible. We might be an idea to just paint in the middle of the beak, that black shape, or black, as you can call it, a pattern, just so it guides us a little bit. It needs to be a bit. And so what I did for the body, to get a flamingo pink color, with watercolors anyway, depends what you're using. Well, you can buy a pink like that, but I just use all the basic colors. I don't buy all the different colors. So I'm just using the alizarin crimson here. You can see that. And I'm going to take, do I dare it with one of my bigger brushes, which will be fine. I'm going to make it very watery. And as usual, it's always handy to have a bit of cloth that you don't mind getting dirty close by, just in case you have mistakes. If you don't have cloth, kitchen towel is fine. I'm going to use a bit of a smaller brush. It should be okay. And first I'm going to try it on a piece of paper. This is always good to have as well, a rough piece of paper, just to see if you like the colour. It is going to dry lighter than that. That's with a bit more water. Maybe I'll put a bit more. And I am going to, as much as possible, paint it with water first, which might seem a bit crazy, but it just softens the paint a little bit, and you can get some nice effect with watercolor. If you're not using watercolor and you've got poster paints, you can try watering down your red, whichever red color you have. If you have pencil colors, you've probably got the pink color. Don't think anybody uses acrylics. So then I'm just going to drop some of the color in. It's still light pink, quite red, I mean. But then, so if you don't want it to be so red, you can just dip your brush in the water and get rid of some of the color. And I'm just pushing it round. It just makes it, when you paint it with water first, it just makes it easier to push the paint around. Right, I hope I'm not going too fast. And every time you want to add a bit more color, simply just dip your brush in. So I might try a different track this time. Just painting the top feathers with water. This might not work, of course. Watercolor is quite fun like this, that it's quite good to experiment with, because you don't really know what's going to happen, and you do have to try and let go of control. It might look quite dark at the moment, but it does dry a lot lighter. And I'm painting, and I'm not, I'm trying to hold my paintbrush a bit further up, so that I'm just painting the strokes to give the impression of feathers. And you don't have to paint the whole, you don't have to colour it in, basically. This might all completely change in the next step. Okay, so I think I'm happy with that. So I used another kind of red, which is, it's called a cadmium red. Of course, this is watercolor all the time, so if you're using paste paint, I'm not quite sure what colors you'd have, but you could, I don't know, you might have used pink and now you can use red, do it that way. So I'm not using too much of this red, and I'm going to mix it with some of the other red. This brush. Just so we've got different kind of red, because it is a little bit orangey in the photo. And yeah, we can. We can also paint this with water first. And just see what happens. You also, with watercolor, don't need to paint every single part of it. I mean, it's completely up to you. But you can, if you leave spaces white. Sorry, maybe I should have said this before. That's okay. But sometimes it makes it look a bit more natural. Oh, this didn't spread like it did on the other one. It went crazy on the other one. Might add a bit more of this color. And like my mum always says, try not to fiddle around with it too much. If you like the effect you've got, then leave it there. Okay, so painting the beak and the legs. Again, I use a mixture of this alizarin crimson, which seems to have some blue in it now, which wasn't on purpose. So what I'll do is should probably clean my palette a bit more. And I don't want to waste the paint. So again, I'm making this quite watery so that it stays quite pink. And it's up to you how you want to paint the legs, but I just find it easier turning it a bit to the side. So it's also very helpful if you have a brush with a painted tip. Well, maybe I should have done the other one first. Oh well. So this one's going to be the same color, of course. So I think I was expecting it to become all wintry after that rain. Still quite hot. Just make its knee a little bit straighter. So then I'm going to turn it upside down so it doesn't get smudged. And I'm going to use the same color I used on the legs for the beak, I think. Unless we just go, well, maybe I'll just go with the first red, the darker red. A little bit strange, things are upside down. And if you notice anything that you just want to correct, you can do that as long as, well, you have to be a bit careful. You don't want to smudge it. And they do say that with watercolor, really, you should paint in layers. So if there isn't an accident, you should wait a little bit till it dries. The first layer dries and then correct it. I might have to do that with that part. Okay, so the eye is yellow. So I'm using I'm doing cadmium yellow, which is this one. And really don't need that much, so I'm going to put a tiny bit that comes out here. In there. I'm going to take a smaller brush now, just so I can line there. I'm going to take some of the darker red and paint that in. And correct the head a little bit. I might have to do that with a little bit of white paint, which is kind of cheating with watercolor, that's fine. And then for the part at the end of the beak, I'm going to use Payne's Grey, which isn't exactly black, but it's close enough and it's quite nice to use. It's very rare that you see.
What color is it?
Sorry, it's Payne's Grey.
Okay, let me check if I have it.
So it's not quite black, but it's quite a useful color to have, because if you don't put much water in with it, it is very dark. But then if you do put water in it, it's a really nice gray. And it has a lot of blue in it. So sometimes it separates when you use it with water and you get all these really nice effects. Like if you, like for skies especially, it's really, really good to use. Like stormy skies like we had this morning. Take some of the paint off a little bit and then go in this bit. I do want to, I don't know whether to risk that or not yet. Let's leave the eye for a little bit later. And there is this, I mean, if you don't want to, you don't have to paint this black bit in. But it's just quite interesting to have it really. And just, oh, that's quite nice. So it's kind of spreading to the water. The feathers for some reason. I think I have to risk the eye or not. to try and cover up some of the pencil marks. Might spread a bit, but let's see. I'm going to go around the eye, trying to be a bit lighter. I want to do that part. I think I'm quite okay with that. But I think I'm going to wait until, so the final thing that I need to do is to add a tiny speck in the middle of the eye, but I'm going to wait until it's a bit drier. And it is, if you want to, it could be quite nice to add the water in there. Might add that in there. With a bit of a bigger brush. Because it's standing, and flamingos often are, to be honest, aren't they? Standing in water. So I'm just going to paint with water behind it, and I'm not painting the whole page. So you can if you want to. But I'm just using, leaving some areas blank. Just painting in sort of lines, rough lines. And I'm going to use, my camera switched off, hasn't it? It's because I need to plug the charger in. Okay. But now it's dried. So this is, I'm going to try and use very watery Payne's Grey. These are just some of the nice effects you can get with it. But you could have used blue as well, because they're often found on beaches or in lakes. So that will probably start to separate a bit later. Which is quite nice. Right, stop fiddling. Is the eye? The eye might be dry enough now, actually. So to do kind of detailed thing, I'll try and take as much water off as possible. And it's very tiny. Yeah. So I want to know how everybody else has done or is doing now. Okay, let me get my phone straight this time for some reason. I'll stop the recording. I hope everybody enjoyed that. And we can look at everybody's paintings next.